I think every single place I didn't expect to learn so much about different aspects of like Asian migration, and I think it's been really cool. It's been a really cool experience so far. There's been a lot of places where on this trip I've learned about like the history of like the Chinese here on Vancouver Island. A lot of things about our heritage that made me feel pretty emotional, and just made me feel like I connect with my culture and my people a lot more. I think my favorite part of the trip so far has been visiting the Chinese cemetery at Harling Point. And I think that was really interesting because it's such a different kind of practice from what my family is used to. Like the traditional Chinese burial, and also like taking up the bones after 7 years. It was like a really interesting experience to learn about that history because I never knew that it had existed, and I actually didn't know that there was a really big Chinese population on Vancouver Island before before I was born. So it was really cool to learn about that history and kind of expand my knowledge about that.
I think my favorite part of the trip has been discovering how much Asian Canadian heritage there is on the island. Because prior to taking this class, I never thought that there was so much history of Asian Canadians living on the island. I only really knew about Vancouver's Chinatown.
I think every single day that I'm here, I'm being challenged in ways that I didn't expect that I would be.
I'm interested in archives, and I think because in archives you have to decide what's important to keep, and I like how the conversation around that is changing, where people are seeing that the perspectives of minority groups throughout history is equally as important to show as colonial history.
Quality gives you the vibe where a kid could run around, go to anybody's house. Everybody was always fed. The kids were always fed food wherever they went. You have that community. And I never had that. And so one like emotional aspect of going to Goodwaters for me is that like you come to these community centers and people, the aunts, uncles are always there and they're ready to feed you and they're asking about you. And one thing you might notice is like they hug you too. Like a lot of them, I said "Sasigal," and they hugged me right away. There was no hesitation. Even Sharon, she hugged me. Everything was comforting about it. At one point, when everybody was like huddled outside the Goodwater, I took the time with my little jaw to go walk around the Goodwater, and I just sat on this like fallen cement block, and I just sat there and just set my jaw and just looked around and just enjoyed the peace and solitude. You know, I go to my mom's like village in India, and I sense that camaraderie and the love that was in that land, and I have the same reaction going there as I have in Baldy. I cry, you know. Okay, yeah.
I think there's been multiple times on this trip where the emotions kind of hit, and it's not really the same as like reading a textbook and learning, oh, this happened here 100 years ago or something like that. I think it's really different when you're actually on site, doing a lot of the learning hands-on, like in person, being able to see things with your own eyes versus being in a classroom and just kind of absorbing material but not really being able to connect with it. The profs are really passionate about the material, so you get to learn a lot from them as well.
I think it's been really helpful in helping me think more critically about the process of curation in museums, and how do you choose the, say, artifacts you're displaying, and thinking about how does what you're going to display communicate messages about whatever history they're representing.
It's not just history, you know, something interesting happened a long time ago that has no doesn't really affect our present. Like every single thing we talk about that's happening in history or that has happened in history connects in some way to how we live our lives in this day. And these connections are being talked about and being highlighted in class.
A lot of these experiences that we've had on the island so far, I think connecting to my heritage is interesting, but it also feels like a call to action sometimes, where we're learning all of these things that, like some of the prejudices that a lot of Asian Canadians faced here on the island, and we still kind of continue to face some of those issues, even though it may seem more hidden these days. It's kind of motivating me to learn more and do more in my own life.